What is up, my dashing dudes and darling dames? I am the Hans TV, and welcome back to the only subreddit that is full of infuriating entitlement. It's r/EntitledParents. Our first post for today comes from Derp the Halls. Grandma gives entitled cousin winning tile. Hi, so I'm really pissed off about what just happened. My grandma isn't that entitled, but feels entitled to let my cousin get his way. He is the most spoiled, obnoxious kid I have ever met. And yet, I find myself going to his house to play mahjong a few times a week. Just so that my post doesn't get removed, his EM is part of the reason he's so entitled. She always has to let him have his way. So, we were playing mahjong, and if you don't know how to win, it's simple. You need to complete your final set of 3 consecutive tiles or 3 identical tiles to win. Now, at the start of your turn, you take a tile from the side and then decide to discard 1 tile. This can be the tile you just drew or one in your hand. Since my grandma was helping us and teaching us which tiles to discard and which to keep, she knew what our hands looked like. She also knew that we both wanted the same tile. My cousin happened to draw a good hand. He had 8 potential winning tiles, and it was a rare hand to see as well. I was also on the verge of winning, and I had 2 potential winning tiles. So, the order of play goes my grandma, my cousin, and me. The seat I was in let me see the cards my grandma drew, and she happened to draw my winning tile. I forgot to mention that in mahjong, you can pick up others' discarded tiles if you have a combo. Anyway, my grandma knew that we both wanted the same tile, but she didn't do the sensible thing of discarding the tile and letting me take it. She didn't need the tile, so in a normal play she would have gotten rid of it anyway. But you know what she did? She put the tile back and drew another one, and she said, "Hey, OP's cousin, I'll let you draw this one." My cousin draws the tile, ends up winning with a really big hand, much to my displeasure. My cousin was so obnoxious about it. He was like, "I won 42 chips in your face." He took a picture of it and everything and yelled, "Don't touch my tiles." I just can't believe my grandma would let the little brat win. If he managed to win that miracle hand on his own, then fine. But it was served to him on a silver platter. He cheated, and I lost because my grandma let him have things his way. We all know that my cousin is the type of person to throw a fuss if he loses, and he never accepts that he lost. My relatives always let him win, even if they know that he's spoiled rotten. He has to be special and use his expensive chef's knives to cut chicken wings. Did I mention he's in the 6th grade? He has to eat anything that has a remote shard of bone with his hands. He's selfish and greedy and can't take a small joke. His parents and rich relatives spoil him with luxury brand pens that he'll never use, and stupid $1,000 professional chef's knives. He hits and yells at his mom, who is an entitled mother. Oh well, he's getting shipped off to boarding school next year, and I couldn't care less. Well, let's hope that since he's going to boarding school, through that process he will actually kind of grow up and get out of his entitled ways. Probably not likely to happen, but maybe he'll be able to see, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I shouldn't say that. But again, not likely. This next post comes from Brigadoon Rosefall. Uncle Bobby, the Entitled Witch, and the Wild Ponies. Hello all. Uncle Bobby is an amazing man, and like Aunt Rose, will feature a lot in the stories of my youth. This particular one is something that happened when I was young. I don't remember much of it myself due to the hospital trip, but we've pieced enough together. The cast is Uncle Bobby, Entitled Witch, our Entitled Mother, Entitled Jerk, Entitled Father, myself, the POA herd, Ponies of America, 20 of them. So, the pasture closest to the road was just under 15 acres of fenced-in area. The ponies or horses had a private pond we kept pretty clean with a few well-placed tubs of water around the place as well. We used this pasture as a way to train horses not to be afraid of cars, trucks, or buses. It worked pretty well. Horses would graze near the fence line and get steadily used to car noise. This was how Uncle Bobby trained horses, slow and steady. Some motorcycles roared by and the horses would bolt. In the pasture, they had plenty of room to run if they did spook at the sounds from the road. On this day, the pony herd was out and about in the pasture, including my POA, Lucifer. He started his life out as an angel bear, then earned the name Lucifer when he turned 3. No more sweet, cute lover boy antics. He knew how to turn on the hose. He knew how to aim the hose. He knew how to open stall doors. He knew how to open the grain room. I could go on and on about all the pranks Lucifer would pull, but that would stretch the story to epic proportions. One thing I will mention about Lucifer is he adored mud. Absolutely adored it. He would roll in mud. He would rub mud into the sides of other ponies or horses, and he would do so gleefully. So, let's say you had a herd of 20 well-looked-after ponies set out to the pasture. By the end of that first hour, you would have a bunch of muddy-looking fools. That's what happened on the day this story takes place. The herd had been turned out. We had 4 new trail ponies with a group of old pros. It helped teach the less experienced ones how to handle the traffic on the road. Another thing Uncle Bobby insisted on. Lucifer had gone right to the 1.5-foot deep pond and waded out to find the muddiest part that he could. He then dug the mud at the side of the bank, getting himself a nice mud patch to lay down and roll in. His white fur with brown spots. Look up a leopard pony of America, and you'll have someone close to Lucifer. I was coming to the pasture to make sure all the water troughs were full and clean and fill the center feeder with some alfalfa and rolled corn, when I noticed a man and woman out in the pasture. This man was trying to bait a few of the other ponies closer to him, plucking at them and holding an apple in his hand. The sun had set at this point, and the couple focus was completely on the ponies. I noticed a van in the pasture and found they'd broken the lock on the gate near the road. They pulled into the pasture and had a U-Haul trailer behind their van. I froze as I realized we were dealing with horse thieves. I didn't scream. I shook one of the buckets that contained corn, and every pony started heading right towards me. They were happy to see me. The couple was not. The man snarled that these were their horses and how dare I trick them with food like that as he started coming towards me. He had a dog leash in his hands, not a lead rope, and a dog collar was already around the smallest point of one of the ponies' necks. I told the man as I backed up, these were our ponies and we raised them. The man was very angry as he moved closer, talking in a low, even tone that I had better sit down and shut up or else. Some part of my brain realized he was talking quietly, not screaming at me. So I screamed and tried to duck in with the horses. I managed to let out another scream before the man punched me in the face, hoping one of my family would be close enough to hear. I hit the ground and saw a mud ball knock into the man's side as my vision went hazy and dark. From this point on, this is from my Uncle Bobby's point of view. Me? I'm knocked out cold in the pasture. Well, Uncle Bobby heard a little girl scream and grabbed the barn rifle, the walkie, and got on Sammy's back. The two of them took off down the path to where they'd heard the scream and knew where I should be. Sammy was a mixed breed horse of Appaloosa, Tennessee Walker, quarter horse, and standard bred. He was Uncle Bobby's horse, and this boy needed no saddle, bridle, or any tack when it came down to business. Uncle Bobby rode hard down to the pasture to find a man with a hand around my ankle, Lucifer digging his teeth into a woman's arm and the entire herd circling around in a panic. At some point along the ride, he used the walkie-talkie to contact anyone else nearby that he could with, "Brat screamed, get down to the pasture now." Uncle Bobby and Sammy did not open the gate. They flew right over the fence and rode hard towards the pair. Uncle Bobby slid off Sammy's side and aimed the gun right at the man, ordering him to drop me. He thought he was watching someone try to kidnap his niece. Well, the man dropped me, seeing the gun pointed at him as Bobby moved towards me and made the man back up. The woman screamed and slapped Lucifer hard enough that he let go and went snorting off to join the rest of the herd. The man and woman took off running for the van and trailer as Uncle Bobby checked on me. The thought of them getting away with trying to kidnap me did not sit too well with Uncle Bobby. He saw the trailer and thought there might be other young kids thrown in the back there, and so he did what a reasonable adult, armed with a rifle, would do. He unloaded every bit of ammo into the van, and when a few of my brothers and cousins showed up, they proceeded to do the same. The couple hid on the other side of the van, screaming at them to stop, and one brother went off to call an ambulance and the police. The couple was hit at gunpoint until Uncle Bobby checked the trailer. He found it was empty and tore through the van looking for other kids. He was so relieved when he found no other kids in the van or trailer, but refused to let the couple go. The fire department arrived first. The medic they had attended to me, though I was mostly unresponsive. I did come to for a few seconds, though I don't recall this. The police arrived and put the trespassing, crying pair in handcuffs before getting statements. The couple tried to explain they were trying to catch wild ponies and take care of them, and one of the ponies had knocked into me and knocked me out. That didn't track with what Uncle Bobby had seen of me being dragged by my ankle instead of carried like someone usually would over an injured child. It didn't go well for the couple at all. They swore up and down they hadn't been planning a kidnapping. But at that time, a few cities over, a few kids had gone missing. So of course the police jumped into an investigation, as they should. This couple's home was searched, as was everything they owned. I came to at the hospital and managed to give my statement, and everyone came to the conclusion that the man had been trying to get rid of the body, which still gives me chills. After a lot of investigating, it came out that the couple's child had been to a birthday party where they had ridden one of our ponies. They wanted the pony but couldn't afford it, so they had planned to bring the pony home, keep it in the backyard as a pet, and let their child ride it whenever they wanted. When they had come to see all the ponies out in the pasture unsupervised, they decided to take a male and a female so they could breed their own since they had the space. The man went to jail for just under 5 years and had to pay some hefty fines. The wife lost custody of the children they had and went to prison for about a year. At the trail, they tried to explain they thought the horses were wild, despite the barn they had previously constructed in their backyard, and that hadn't meant to hurt me at all. They tried to use photographs from the road into the pasture as evidence of abuse, and all our horses were checked over for signs of neglect. None was found. Even in the photos, the mud wasn't fully dried. I made a full recovery from my concussion, and the hoof print-shaped bruises faded away too. The couple tried to go after Uncle Bobby for excessive use of a weapon or some BS like that, but no one bought it. All in all, I might be the baby brat in the family, but I know if I ever need help from my family, it isn't far. It's a comforting feeling to know. It's also nice to have a pony in your corner. If it wasn't for Lucifer that night, I wouldn't be here to write down all these stories. This couple should be extremely grateful that they were not shot on sight and had left an orphan child. Like, that's what would have happened if you were to do that where I'm from. You would be shot on sight, because that is theft, and that's probably their likelihood. Also, I don't know if a lot of y'all know this, but horses, equines, are classified actually as emotional support animals. I mean, they can be, just like dogs, cats, any of those. So being very protective of their owner or of their rider is very, very consistent with what I've learned. So this was a great story, OP, and I'm really glad you posted it. This next post comes from Wooferson. EM decides to call the cops on her 12-year-old. So, a bit of backstory on this. My entitled mother is the biggest, most accurate description of a Karen that you could get. The only thing that doesn't match is the haircut. She's been this way my entire life, and I don't see her stopping anytime soon. Just to give you an idea of her personality. Back when I was 12, maybe 13, my entitled mother decided that showing emotions and being somewhat possessive over my own items was a big no-no. And I don't mean possessive as, I'm gonna throw a tantrum if you dare think about taking my toy away. It was more of, I want to know an actual reason for you taking away one of my things. She often took things away, which certainly didn't help my possessiveness. My entitled mother also knows several police officers and is good friends with them. She gets the bright idea of, let me traumatize my child by having a uniformed off-the-clock police officer come yell at them. I was hardly a teenager and certainly had never done anything wrong. But being the entitled mother she is, not having absolute control over myself obviously hit a sore spot. So, she calls our police friend who shows up in full gear, and I spend a solid 15 minutes being talked down to in a very condescending manner, having a bright-ass flashlight shined in my face. I'd also like to mention I have glasses because of bad eyesight, and that flashlight certainly didn't help matters. And generally being terrified from the threat of being brought to juvie and having this on my record. I'm sorry if this wasn't what people were expecting or such, but I've got more posts to follow, if only to get them off my chest, as my entitled mother has been the same and horrible my entire life. And still, at the time I'm posting this, is, as a side note. I'd like to say that this is not the only time she decided to do this. So let me get this right. Instead of talking to you and helping you understand or helping her understand how you feel, like, you know, an adult, she decides to call the cops that's off duty, that's her friend, to come and berate you and fearmonger you into shutting up. That's, I don't even know what that abuse is. That child abuse? Somebody let me know in the comments, because that's just fucked up. Our final post for today comes from Faco5045. Now that you are gay, you need to get a postgraduate degree. My brother just reminded me of probably one of the funniest reactions and homophobic dad can have to a guy coming out. It's not a Karen/Kevin story, but my dad surely was entitled. They're called Richards. I was about halfway through college at a private school when I came out to my parents. I knew they were not going to be happy about it, but I was not afraid they will kick me out. And if they did, my older brother was ready to let me move in with him. Also, this is important later. I was lucky enough to get a full scholarship thanks to being a high score in my country's SATs, so my education was not in peril either. After I told them the news, which resulted in tears from both sides, my father suddenly got very, very serious. "You can't drop out." "What? Why would I do that?" "I don't know, but you can't. Whatever this, my sexuality, is, you can't let it affect your future." "These two things are not related at all, Dad." "I sure hope so." And that was the end of the topic. Or so I thought. Days later, my bank account was suddenly filled with a ton of money, in the order of the thousands of dollars. I saw the transaction came from my dad's account, so I called him and asked what was all that money for. "I haven't told you before, but I've been saving the money I would be paying if you didn't have your scholarship in order to pay for your medical specialization." "Really? But why are you giving it to me now? I'm ending med school in 3 years. "Just wanted to remind you that you need to focus on your future." "Dad, is this because I am gay?" He ended the call before answering, so I guess that was a yes. For the next few years, my dad would give me more money and will remind me constantly about the future. I still didn't understand his way of thinking, but my best theory is that for him, gay equals stripper, hooker, drug addict, etc., and he wanted to stop that. I also think that was what he was hoping, that if I got too busy studying or in my job, I wouldn't have time to do gay things. A lot of situations have prevented me from actually doing the specialty, but the money is still there. And while my dad is now a lot more comfortable about my homosexuality, he still reminds me from time to time about the postgraduate funds and how it is important for me to be focusing on my career before anything else. So there's that. Thanks for reading, guys. So after reading this, I'm kind of confused as to why it's in Entitled Parents, because this actually seems just like a parent who's confused about what is actually going on with you. And to send you all that money actually seems very kind, even if it is for the wrong reason. He was still saving up all that money for you, even though you had your scholarship, and he gave it to you. If he was a real entitled parent, he would have said, "Oh, you're gay now. I'm taking all your money away, and you're gonna have to quit school." Like, that would be the entitled thing to do. Not, "Hey son," or daughter, whichever one, "here's the money that I've been saving for you. Take it. It'll help you with your future. Just focus on that." It seemed like he was just confused in how to actually verbalize what he was trying to say. And he just didn't want you to take the wrong path, I guess. I mean, I'm not trying to look too deep into this, but if y'all agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion about this, because I don't think this belongs in Entitled Parents. Well, all right, my dashing dudes and darling dames, that is going to do it for today's episode of r/Entitled Parents. I hope you liked the stories, and if you did, I'm going to link them in the description as always. And if you liked the video, subscribe, share, drop a like, and a comment down below with what you'd like to see me read next. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's stuck with my channel. I know I've been gone for the past couple weeks, but I just recently started school back, and I didn't realize the magnitude of assignments and everything that I was going to be having. It's difficult for me to keep this time up, but I am trying. So after today, I'm going to mass produce videos so that I can actually put them out in a timely manner. If you stayed to this part, thank you so much. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.